Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry, and today joining us again is Ergot, because he's going to be talking about the Z39. This is not the Z39, and the reason is that I don't have the Z39. I don't even have this ship. Honestly, because I haven't really done that much on the German destroyer line. It's on my list. It's definitely one of those things that I need to do soon, because these things are fun to play. But haven't really gotten there, so I can't talk about it, which is why Ergo does it. What do I like about the German destroyers in general? Well, I mean, again, as you can see, I don't even have this ship, but just as a roundabout idea about German destroyers, they're fast, they're relatively fast or reasonably fast, maneuverable, very good guns, and decent torpedoes. So, historically, the Germans didn't have that many destroyers. Again, this is a whole Plan Z thing, where they were promised that the World War II isn't going to break out until 1948, and they had about 10 years starting 1938 to build up a fleet that could compete with the British home fleet and with the French and with whatever else they were facing. Now, of course, as we all know, that didn't quite work. So when they realized they were going to have to fight the British and the French, and they had a lot more destroyers than the Germans had, they panicked a little bit and decided just to put bigger guns on them. So these things carry the same guns, the same 150mm guns that you find, for example, on a Nürnberg, on the light cruiser. So they're really almost more light cruisers. Made them a bit top heavy, the real ones. And other than that, yeah, they are good destroyer hunters. And as with all German ships, the armor piercing is excellent. So that's pretty much all I've got to go with. So I'm going to hand over to Ergo, and let's see what he's got.
Hello everybody, this is Ergo. I'd like to spend some time discussing the German destroyer tech tree for a little bit, between 6 and 9. The ships there tend to have one of two different setups, either 5-inch guns or 6-inch guns. They have all the same set of torpedoes, 2 sets of quad torpedo launchers, 533mm, and the gun's setup tends to run between 3 turrets and 5 turrets, either 5-inch guns or 6-inch guns, depending on which one it is. So let's start with the Ergot, the Tier 6. And what we're going to see that it has the setup with the 6-inch guns, and it's got 2 engine accelerators, 2 hydrophones, 4 turrets, 1 gun per turret. Z39, that's the premium. It's got 3 turrets, 1 dual turret, the 6-inch guns, standard torpedoes, and it's got 2 engine accelerators and 3 hydrophones, 1 more hydrophone. The Liebherr Moss, the Tier 7 line, has 5-inch guns, so it's got a smaller diameter, but it's got 5 of them. And then the Z23, which is the Tier 8 destroyer, has pretty big guns. It's got the 6-inch guns. It's got 4 turrets. It's a pretty aggressive ship. 3 engine accelerators, 2 hydrophone 2s. Now the Z46 is the Tier 9. It's got 5-inch guns, so a little smaller. Guns, 3 sets of 2, so less turrets to worry about. It's the first to have a smoke generator. It's got 3 engine accelerators and the standard hydrophone 2 that is from the Z23. Now skipping back to the Z39. The Z39 and the 46 are very similar ships in the way that they function. So I like the captain to kind of skip back and forth between the two. The usefulness of his skills is almost identical. Now you can see on the captain's readout what kind of skills I chose.
So this is actually really quite interesting. I like seeing how other people are setting up their captains, which is usually quite different from what I'm doing. So let's just have a quick look through and see what Ergo's gotten up to here. He's got the emergency response skill in the first one, which is interesting. It helps you get your steering gear fixed quicker, I usually go with underwater protection expert, even on a destroyer, because, well, it does reduce a little bit the damage you're taking from torpedoes. But if you are getting your steering shot off quite a bit, then sure, that's a valid choice. In the second slot, he goes with the battlefield support, and that makes sense on German destroyers because it gives you an extra sonar. It also gives you extra air defense and radar, which you can't really make any use of. But that is certainly a useful skill to have, together with the tier 6 skill, the recon and surveillance for the sonar duration. Preheating is almost a must in tier 3, and obviously for a destroyer, the victorious charge makes sense to recover a bit of hit points. So does the Daredevil. It's always a choice in 5 for me between Daredevil and the Survivalist, but Daredevil is definitely useful for these kind of things. As we've talked about it, the recon and surveillance is very useful, as well as the fully prepared, because you get your repair kits off cooldown quicker. And the adrenaline rush makes sense because it makes sense for destroyers that don't have smoke screens. If you have a smoke screen, I would definitely go with the Mistweaver, just because it makes your smoke screens just so much more useful. And the adrenaline rush just really kicks in when you're very low on health and gets your torpedoes back a little bit quicker. But that's a good skill to have. The engine overload totally makes sense for destroyers that have the engine accelerator speed. Honor Seeker I'm really curious how well this works. So that's a skill that I'm not so sure about, just because getting if you get the first strike, for example, then that might actually become really useful because you actually do more damage throughout the rest of the game. But any other battle medals are actually like it takes more than half the game at least to get something like a Confederate. But it's still not a bad skill to have if you don't really have use for the other things. Like for a battleship, the compartment maintenance would probably make more sense, or the master reloader if you're on an American, or anything that has the reload skill. But otherwise, yeah, Honor Seeker is not a bad one. And then really interesting actually for a German destroyer on tier 10, if you would go with the IFHE. I'm not actually sure about that, but be interesting. And then, of course, the last one would probably be the Giant Hunter, because that's the one that makes most sense for destroyers. So yeah, that's pretty close to what I would usually go with as well.
Right, let's talk about the Aurora Battle. We have a top tier, and we've got a founder squad on our side, which against a much less experienced group of opposing. Let's see how the battle goes. Okay, we spawned on the left side, so I like to move across the west
defend our base.
open space to the islands.
No problem.
Generally,
Hello.
and that's what I did in this battle. Then you can see that the airplanes are. The planes are coming up the center, kind of scouting out where our team is and where their team is. And right off the bat,
Enemy target spotted.
The friendly planes spot a couple of the destroyers. At this point, I decided it was better to be more aggressive and kind of engage. So we moved a little bit closer to try to see if I can't drop some torps on those destroyers. So we see Black Fingers and the Fubuki.
Target locked.
And HQ-10 and a Sims, which is a really good premium American destroyer. I dropped some torps right before they spotted us. Then there we are, detected. And I'm hoping that they don't get the opportunity to dodge, and right about... There we go. 2 hits on the Fubuki. Now I'm going to engage the Sims in a firefight. At this point, it looks like in the mini-map that the friendly...
Enemy torpedo spotted.
My team hasn't really noticed So instead of dodging towards the torpedoes at this point, and into the Fubuki, I chose to dodge away. And here I am threading the needle on these torps. Now you can see the Fubuki decided, instead of engaging me, went over to engage my team, and quickly Captain Hook took care of him. Now the Molotov is coming around to try to defeat that sim. So we've got the two of us are on this guy, and we get closer, and I don't see him here. So I'm wondering where he is. He's got to be against this island. And I decided the best thing to do is dodge it. Now this is a rough spot. He's too close for torpedoes. I launched some anyway, and then he lets them go right at the right time. Now, we got hit by one, but it isn't too bad.
The situation is under
At this point, I have to decide what I'm going to do with this guy. Should I go around the island all together? I'd like to re-engage as soon as possible. I can see the Molotov coming around the south of that island, so I decided to go ahead and beach and come around the north side of the island.
Enemy torpedoes spotted.
There we are on the coming around the north side. The Molotov is on the south side, firing on that Sims. All we have to do is keep him in sight. Make sure we don't lose sight of him again. You can see those 6-inch guns do a pretty decent amount of damage. Now watch the hydrophone right here because he went into smoke. And we're trying to get close enough for the hydrophone to work. There it is. Of course, he would have come out anyway, but I think that he knew that he was being detected. Because when you're being detected by the hydrophone, it shows up on your screen as being detected. So he knew he wasn't going to be safe there. Now it's just a race to see who can kill him first, and my Z39 got him. Now looking at the mini-map, you can see that the enemy team is decimated. We're rolling down the carrier. At this point, we won. I decided to go north and try to see if we can get a few hits in before our team won. And we get a few hits in.
In his second battle, Ergot is again in his Z39. And what has he got on the enemy team? A lot of good players on the enemy team. There's a Nagato, a Warspite, a double Juka. Yeah, destroyers is it's not a good time to be in a destroyer when you see that. And 3 destroyers on the enemy team, an Aka, a Mayhem, and a Farragut. So let's go. And they're playing Bay of Storms. So you can almost bet that everyone's going to cluster around the central island. The Akatsuki probably is going to go wide because it's a stealthy destroyer, but I would assume that everybody else is going to take position at the tips of the islands. So Ergo's moving forward, switches over the guns to armor piercing. As again, you have 150mm guns. There are light cruiser guns on these things. So if you're facing other light cruisers or destroyers, and I would almost bet even battleships if you hide the superstructure, because these are the same guns that are on the secondaries on the Bismarck. And if you get good superstructure hits with this, you can do quite a bit of damage. So he decides, well, nope, I'm not poking my nose out there, not with 2 Jukas around in the enemy team. He switches on his hydro just to see if there's anything coming around. Thinks about throwing some perspective torpedoes about, but wisely decides not to, because he can't actually see anything with his hydro. So that these are going to hit is very unlikely. So he slows down, turns the ship around again, and just kind of waits there at the corner, laying in an ambush, to see if anybody pokes their nose around, and he's got a round of torpedoes ready for them. And he's got his 2 cruisers basically doing similar things. Someone else sends some perspective torpedoes around, and there we go. So our first customer. There is a Fargo, and there's one of the Dukas as well. So the Farragut's just right behind. We've just seen him. We know he's there. So Ergot's poking out. And the torpedoes are locking on into the Duca, but that's not who he wants to be shooting at. Yes, there's the Farragut. And the Farragut is having a full-on brown panzer alert at this point. He basically, he would have to turn in. But he doesn't. He seems to be too focused on getting his torpedoes away and runs full into the spread. Now, Ergo, you might have noticed on the minimap that there's a destroyer next to you. Yes, there, that one. There's a full health Mayhem. And you're being shot at by a Duca and you're down to pretty much half health. So he slams in the engine boost. The Mayhem hasn't fired his torps yet, so either he's out or he's biding his time. But here come the 150mm guns, and look at the amount of damage these things are doing. They're doing almost 600 damage against destroyers because destroyers don't really have any armor. So Ergo has to keep the nose pointed in though. He could use the hydro, but there he goes. Pops the hydro. There come the torpedoes. Yes, he knew these were coming. That's why he's got his nose in. But of course that means he only can get one of his turrets to bear. Now he sends out a double spread, and I would have spread these a little bit wider maybe, or gotten a bit closer, because the Mayhem just fired. Because yeah, the Mayhem's gonna dodge these, and this is actually a perfect opportunity to keep firing on the Mayhem. Maybe he was just waiting for the torpedoes to hit, but the Mayhem actually does a tactical beach, slams into the island, and he could have gotten some more shots in, but now he's sitting back there. And he pops his smoke, and Ergo is just out of hydro. So he has to blind fire, and he's relatively low on health with 4,000 health. But the Mayhem actually decides to come out again for reasons unknown to man. Maybe he thought, oh, I'm a gunboat destroyer, I can get this guy. He's on super low health. And 9 seconds, 8 seconds, he's on 600 health. This is gonna be close. And he fires, nope. Just a couple of seconds before the heel comes off, but his return shots reach the Mayhem from the grave, and he takes him down with him.
Are we ready? Match number 3. Okay, we're starting in the Southern Archipelago. We've got a pretty good solid team, although the opposing team has got some really good players in it. We've noticed that it's got some the Duke of York, which is an F2 fleet member. We got a whole team of Pocho. That's a very good fleet. So the Z39 has a couple roles that it could fill. It can take caps, it can explore the map, search for enemy destroyers. It's got a very poor detection radius in that they can see it from a long way away, so stealth torping is not really its forte, although you can kind of do that a little bit, but you're going to be detected pretty quickly. And your torpedoes don't go that far outside of the detection range, so it's very difficult to stay in that range where you can actually stealth torp. In this map, you notice that I'm starting my sonar very quickly. It increases the detection range for ships, and it also lets me spot those prospective torpedoes that just came our way. Now we can see that Fiji over there. I'm gonna try to torp him. He sees me, but I'm hoping that he thinks that I'm going after that Mayhem, and that he's not gonna dodge the torpedoes that I sent his way. Now you can notice that the Gneisenau battleship is moving into Cap D rather aggressively at this point, and is helping me take down this Mayhem. My sonar has ended. I'm too far away anyway. Oh, there's those torpedoes that hit the Fiji, and here's his torpedoes that coming after me too, which I dodged. And there's the torpedoes from the Mayhem. Now the Gneisenau is very nicely dodging out of the way of those torpedoes by angling in. Now, at this point, the Mayhem has sent his third group of torpedoes at me, so he's out for a moment. Now, he's already been hurt by the Gneisenau, so I'm just going to run him down. Normally, the rule should be never chase after destroyers if they have torpedoes active, because it's really hard to dodge them and follow. And here we are taking Cap C. Now, we're losing Cap B at this point, so we're going to switch cap for cap, and they're a battleship down, so we're ahead, but it's not very much ahead. They can turn this pretty quickly. The Fiji is trying to escape. Our Brooklyn is running away, and then I'm wondering what happened here, except that You can see that the Knizen now took that long shot, sniped him from across the map. Must have been like a great shot. I wish I could have seen it. Now, at this point, our team is trying to decide what it's going to do. We have the one battleship that's trying to reclaim Cap B against the entire enemy team. The rest of our squad is kind of all over the place. We're trying to regroup. And there goes the big guns Colorado. At this point, I want to move into the north side of the map. And you got to be a little careful because they know that we're coming this way. So they're going to be planning to defend it. And I'm looking at this at the way that it's set up, and I don't want to engage that Normandy directly. So we're going to just make him dodge torpedoes. Now, there's no way he spotted those torpedoes quite yet, but he's already moving to engage our cruiser that's coming in, the York. And I'm moving a little bit north, trying to get some space between me and that battleship. Now, the Brooklyn's kind of giving me some cover here. And I want to move into Cap A as fast as possible at this point. Now, I switched over to HE rounds, which was a very poor decision. That lower tier French battleship doesn't have the armor to repel AP rounds, but I've still got a fire started on him, and it's making him harassed. And there he goes. So now the job is to take Cap B as quickly as we can. The Duke of York is a very good player. You can see he's got a Phoenix, so he's well trained on how to deal with these hopeless situations and still make the best of it. And he's doing pretty well, but he's got this. He's really outgunned at this point. Now, the French battleship coming in from heading south, that Lyon, is shooting AP rounds at me, which I know are going to overpen, and I'm hoping that he doesn't switch to HE rounds at this point. But I go ahead and decide this is a YOLO moment and just charge him, trying to get those torps in as close as possible. And bam, if he had been using HE rounds against me, I would have been dead right there. I figured it didn't matter that much because we would have won the match anyway at this point. We got all 4 caps. But just to see the look on his face as those torps go in, it's worth the effort. Now I'm going to say this is a tactical beaching against this limestone stack, and that I did it on purpose because I was afraid to engage, show broadside to that battleship over there, and I'm going to just say that this was totally serendipitous. Now, at least we got to see that the last battle hit. And the end MVP in the Z39. Now we get to see the final results. 2 battle awards. Now, interesting, the previous battle was a defeat. It wasn't a resounding defeat. -28 isn't too bad. But you can see that I don't always win with the Z39. It kind of depends on how good your team is too, and how well they back you up. Anyway, good hunting. Ergot signing off.
Well done. And you see that the German destroyers actually can really play multi-role in that they can push cruisers away. I mean, he can Citadel the Fiji in this thing probably, and he can push enemy destroyers away and make short work of them, and that got them the right flank, and in the end that got them the game. The downside obviously is that the torpedoes aren't the greatest, and you have to get relatively close because you don't have a wide margin between your this detection and the torpedo range. So, and then again, this is a brawler ship, as are all the German ships, I guess. I don't speak from personal experience, but this is just what it looks like. So, that's it for today. Thank you so much, Ergo, for all the hard work and sending all this in and doing the commentary and everything. Much appreciated. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.